Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Craig Burrell, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Captain Tashna Anderson. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial and students on behalf of the Boys Brigade Australia. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Please sit if you can do so. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the hearts of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Second Lieutenant Victor Leslie Saltau. Victor Saltau was born on the 26th of July, 1888, to John and Isabella Saltau of Warrnambool, Victoria. He grew up there, completing his education at the local college. He later moved with his parents to South Melbourne. In 1910, he married Lydia Cora Warner in Melbourne, and they had two daughters, Cora and Vera. It was said that Vic Saltau had two hobbies: his Sunday school work and military work. He was a member of the Montague Mission and a Sunday school teacher at the branch of the Dorcas Street Presbyterian Church. He was also a colour sergeant in the Citizens Militia, transferring to the Commonwealth Forces with the induction of universal military training. Despite having a very young family, Victor Saltau was anxious to serve in the Australian Imperial Forces from its formation in 1914. He went to enlist with one of his younger brothers, Brian, within days of the outbreak of the war. Brian was barely 18 at the time and put his age up to 21. Both brothers were accepted and posted to the newly formed 5th Battalion. Vic Saltau was posted to the 5th Battalion with the rank of sergeant and left for active service overseas 2 months later. Shortly after his arrival in Egypt, he was posted quartermaster sergeant, and he and his brother began training in the desert. On the 25th of April 1915, the 5th Battalion took part in the landing on Gallipoli as part of the second wave. By the following day, Private Brian Saltau had been shot in the chest and shoulder and was evacuated to hospital in Egypt. Vic Saltau was able to prove himself an able soldier and received his commission in the field 3 days after the landing, becoming a second lieutenant. In early May 1915, the 5th Battalion left Anzac Cove and was sent south to Cape Helles to take part in the attack on Krithia. Advancing in open sight of the enemy, the 5th Battalion lost almost a third of its strength, capturing little ground in return. As he charged across the open ground, Victor Saltau was shot in the abdomen. He was taken to a nearby casualty clearing station where he died of his wounds shortly afterwards. Another member from the 5th Battalion later recalled, "About 12 miles from Garba Tepe, and we had a charge of about 100 yards at the Turks. That was where Vic Saltau got killed, and a lot more of our gallant boys. It was a terrible picture. We attacked about 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was just on dark when we started to dig new trenches. We hadn't done much when the Turks started to throw up star shells, which illuminated the whole place, and we had to stop digging. I am speaking of what my friends and I went through. They who fell died for their country." Victor Saltau was buried in the Lancashire Landing Cemetery at Cape Helles, where he lies today under the simple epitaph, "The beloved husband of Lydia C. Saltau and the father of Cora and Lydia." He was 27 years old. 2 years later, his brother Brian Saltau was also killed in action. Their names are listed on the Roll of Honour on my right, amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. A photograph of Second Lieutenant Victor Leslie Saltau alongside fellow servicemen is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Second Lieutenant Victor Leslie Saltau, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. The going down of the sun, and in the morning we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the Director, staff and volunteers, we thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening.